Hello and welcome to Run It Back on the Raptors Republic Network, where we talk about everything Raptors 905, sprinkle in a chat about the NBA Raptors, and we run it back on all of the action. I'm Zulfi Sheikh here, joined by Cody Wiles. No Kyle Ramnarine this week. The holiday season is pretty busy for everyone. He is spending that time with his family. So Cody and I are holding it down. We do have lots to talk about, but Cody, before we get to that, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's the annual episode of me in Saskatchewan, so here I am doing it, and yeah, I'm doing good. We're gonna pretend that the championship or not championship, the winter showcase final game didn't happen because we actually kind of can. Hey,
Yeah,
we
yeah. As far as the records say, the Raptors 905 have not lost. There's no L in any of the columns as far as I can tell, and that's just how it goes. It's like the NBA Cup. It just doesn't
yeah
exist.
yeah. So we can pretend that didn't happen, and we can just keep singing the praises of the 905 as we have.
Yeah, well, like you said, Cody, you are in Saskatchewan. I'm here in Toronto. We are recording this the day before Christmas Eve. So please be sure to leave a like on this video. We are committed to talking Raptors 905 whenever we can. It's the best G League coverage you can get on YouTube and the internet. So leave a like on this video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff as we ask you to do all the time. But like Cody said, we are going to be talking about the Raptors 905's perfect start, fortunately coming to an end. What to make of their showcase finale performance, if you want to call it that, and what to look forward to as the regular season keeps going. So with that being said, let's run it back, Cody. And I know you want to ignore it and act like it never happened, but unfortunately, we will touch on it a little bit. After finishing the tip-off tournament schedule 14-0, which was a G League record, the Raptors 905 went into the showcase final. They looked good for a little bit. They cruised through the quarterfinal. They won a very competitive semifinal game that went down to the wire. And unfortunately, they ran into the buzzsaw that is the Salt Lake City Stars, led by Mo Bamba, Elijah Harkless, and CBL MVP finalist. I just have to mention that, Sean East II. They had a fantastic offense. The Raptors 905 have a fantastic defense. And unfortunately, the defense budged in this case. 137-112 was the final in the Showcase Cup finale. So Cody, what do you make of just the fact this team was able to win 16 games in a row before losing? Obviously, that tough loss to end it off, and just the good, the bad, and everything in between. What are your impressions?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of good, right? And I want to start with that because that's obviously, chronologically what happened. They were
Yeah.
fantastic pretty much up until that Showcase Cup final. And it's so interesting how they can win in so many ways. And that's what's made them so good. They can outrun you. That's how they started the year a lot. Like they were just pounding teams in transition, grabbing and going, and just generating so many easy looks with their pace. And then the triple started coming along, and then they were just killing dudes with triples. And then I would say just like shooting efficiency overall, like they're first in the G League in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage, 50% from the field, nearly 40% from three. So when you're shooting that well, typically you're gonna win. So they can outrun you to win, they can kill you with triples, or they can grind you out defensively, which we've seen that happen in multitude of games where they just aren't allowing teams to score. And even if their offense isn't necessarily clicking, there's been some troubles in the half court, and it's not necessarily been an efficient monster in the half court, but the defense was really holding them in there for the whole season until the Showcase Cup final, where I believe the 137 was the most points they've allowed this year,
I think so, yeah.
by far. So yeah, you know what? It's that Salt Lake City team is good. When you go through all the G League team stats, the 905 are at the top of a lot of them, but the Salt Lake City Stars are right beside them, and that's a good team over there. So yeah, it's been a great season so far. Tough end to that Showcase Cup final, but it doesn't count. So
Yeah, there you go. So kind of speaking to that, Cody, for those wondering, the Raptors 905 technically to start the regular season are 2-0. The quarterfinal and the semifinal do count, but the final doesn't. Again, just like the NBA Cup. And look, you're right, Cody. It's hard to come off of that loss and you want to just talk about like where they struggled and what went wrong. But then you look at the fact that they won 16 games in a row. You don't really want to look at it as like a major negative in a sense. But in some ways, it was also good in the sense that you got to learn from it, right? You got to see where there may be some weaknesses, some things this team needs to work on when they move forward. Because at the end of the day, you're not always going to face teams that are struggling in the Eastern Conference, for instance, in the G League. You are going to face some better competition. You said it yourself. The Salt Lake City Stars were the number 2 seed, and the 905 were the number 1 seed. For one, to get to these like postseason, whatever you want to call it, games that matter, you're going to be facing stiffer competition, and you're going to be able to see where you kind of fall in the pecking order. For the most part, the 905 did well, but they were also playing with fire a little bit. I kind of want to say Drew Jones kept saying that, hey, we need to punch first. We need to be able to come out and punch first and be the team that kind of sets the tone. And honestly, the Raptors 905, if there's one thing they weren't good at so far this season, it's that. They've gotten down early in a lot of games. They tend to start slow. In 2 of their last 3 regular season games, and then every single game in the Showcase Cup, they were down after the first quarter. In the quarterfinal, it was like 22-4 against San Diego. In the semifinal against the Grand Rapids Gold, it was like 24-10. And then obviously we saw against the Salt Lake City Stars, they just got shot out the gym right away because Salt Lake couldn't miss. So if there's one thing you can kind of see where this team needs to take this time to reset and come back, is finding ways to start stronger, start faster, and get into some of this stuff earlier. And then, like you said, they can grind you out defensively. But when the turnover battle isn't necessarily going your way, this you become a half court team, right? You can't get those transition opportunities. And what can you accomplish in a half court setting offensively? They've had moments where they've been brilliant, like you said, especially when the 3-point shots are falling. But when they're not, like maybe a game like yesterday, where really only Elijah Martin was hitting consistently from deep. AJ Lawson hit 3 threes, but he was like 3 of 11, I think. When that stuff isn't happening, where are you generating offense in a more efficient manner? Those are a couple things where I'm hoping to see come the regular season that starts later this week. How are you able to clean some of that stuff up?
Yeah, career high for Martin in that final for 33 points as
He was
well.
great.
And yeah, when you're talking about in the half court, especially when the game slows down, there's some struggles there because they aren't a good rebounding team either. Bottom
Mhm.
10 in rebounds and offensive rebounds. They're second last in defensive rebound percentage. So when that game slows down and they need to hit the boards, like Olivia Sarr isn't that he's not the best rebounder. Julian Reese, I think, is a solid rebounder, but when you're going up against legit 7 footers like Mo Bamba, things aren't necessarily going to go your way. I also wanted to touch on, yeah, like it's those slow starts, but they have somehow like just miraculously will go on insane
Yeah,
runs through the game. They've had like a 16-1 run. In the second
the
game
semifinal. Yeah,
in the second game against Delaware in the regular season, which was like leading up to the Showcase Cup, they had a 27-2 run, which was just like insane. It was part of a 63 to 33 second half. To get
it was a 23-point comeback in that game. I think right. Like it was like their biggest comeback all season.
Yeah, a 27-2 run is just insane. Like, I don't even know how that's just a testament to, how they stay locked in throughout the whole game. But obviously you don't want to have to make an improbable comeback like that. But that's what they've been doing. And their style, it almost breeds for that to happen, with how they can get steals, with how they can get out in transition, with how they can play defense. It does breed for some comebacks like that, but again, you'd rather not be doing that. So that definitely rebounding, turnovers, half court efficiency are some of the big problems here with the 905, which at 16-0, they've been,
Yeah.
papering over a lot of it with just how good they are and how efficient they are in every other area of basketball. But yeah, those would be the glaring holes, and they all came to fruition in that cup final.
Yeah, I think it was just like you said, a combination of all of that within those 48 minutes. But again, like when we say problems, it's not really like it's the end of the world. Again, they've lost one game in like
Yeah.
2 months of basketball, right? So it's just unfortunate that it all came together in one performance when there was $100,000 on the line for them, and they could have been the first team to finish the tip-off tournament and Showcase Cup undefeated. But them's the breaks. That's basketball. Sometimes it's not your night. Salt Lake City Stars could not miss basically all that game, and that's just what happens sometimes. I'm very positive the Raptors 905 are going to bounce back and still be a really good regular season team. They have the talent for it, they have the means for it, and that's because they have a lot of key performers and solid contributors up and down the roster. So Cody, I felt like this was a good time to kind of focus on a couple players that fans can keep an eye on as the regular season continues. Obviously, we're transitioning into that now, and there's been a lot of talk about guys on this roster from two ways, from other players. Obviously, with the Raptors struggling, there's some chatter about like, hey, can some of these guys get a look? They're not losing, so maybe they deserve some shine here. And for those that don't know, January 5th is the date when teams can start signing players to 10-day contracts. So that's always going to be a topic of conversation as well. But Cody, start us off. Who do you want to shout out from this Raptors 905 start?
Like, can I shout out the obvious guys? Like, or are we trying
Yeah,
to go?
yeah.
Are we
I
trying to
mean,
go?
we'd be burying the lead if we didn't talk about some of the guys that I'm sure you're going to bring up.
Yeah, well, this team is led by the three two ways and the assignment to John Mogbo. Guys who cannot be signed to 10-day contracts. But
Mm.
I'll start with Chucky because he's really stirring the drink for a lot of this team. Top five in the minors, at least heading into the Showcase Cup. He was top five in the minors in assists with nearly 9 per game and steals at 2.5 to go along with nearly 13 points. And he's been efficient 45, 40, 88 splits. And that's for all three of these guys who've really been efficient, which has been the
Mm.
most um, uh, impressive thing to me. Elijah Martin, 50, 42, 82 splits, while Lawson was at 47% from the field and 33% from distance. So not as efficient for Lawson, but man, these guys are all just, they're playing so well. We've talked about Lawson stepping up defensively. That's really been nice with, uh, has really paired nicely with Hepburn and Martin, and then you got Mogbo there as well. Like that's four really, really solid defenders, and then you have Sar and Reese cleaning it out all up on the back end. So I mean, honestly, like the two ways have all been fantastic. They all deserve shots with the big club, especially with the way they've been playing. And we actually saw that a little bit. Would have been what a couple weeks ago now. I guess they were starting to get some run, and
Yeah.
they have gone away, obviously, to Florida for the trip. So, yeah, man, honestly, all three of them have been great. AJ Lawson just outside the top 10 in scoring with 23.5 points. He's actually just outside the top 10 in steals as well at 2.1. So, man, just I can't speak enough about all three of them and Mobo too. I'm sure you want to touch on Mobo. That's
Yeah, I was gonna get to Jonathan Moe, but don't worry. But before we do, I know there's like you said, Cody. There's been some people wondering about like can some of these two-way players get some more run with the Raptors? You see some of these other teams in the NBA. I think it's like Cleveland maybe who like runs their two ways out quite often. I did want to mention there is a bit of reasoning behind this. Since the Raptors only have 14 players rostered, they get a combined 90 games for their two-way players. So normally it's 50 games each. So they only get 90 games while they have 14 players rostered, which is obviously a lot less. You're going from 150 games for your two-way players to 90 combined. So if all three of them play in the same game in the NBA, that's 3 games of the 90 gone right there. Right. So they have to be a bit more selective about how these guys are playing. Obviously, could they solve that problem by adding a 15th player on the roster? Yes. This team is close to the luxury tax. That's a whole different conversation about the Raptors financially. But just to give people some insight, that's why I believe they haven't been getting as much run in the NBA, even though they've been around for some of this stuff.
yeah, and frankly, for most of the season, it wasn't really they weren't needed. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
the team was just playing at such a high level, and they're really like the Raptors were like the healthiest team in the NBA for that good chunk of the start of the season when they went on that really good rebound from the bad start. But now now it's starting to come around to where the injuries, obviously the offense has been not as great. So there's been some more conversations, but yes, that's a great point.
Yeah, so I want to go back and touch on Elijah Martin. I know you talked a bit about Chucky and AJ, but Elijah Martin has obviously been hooping. Like I can put his numbers up here for people watching on YouTube. He's averaging over 18 points, shooting 50% from the field, over 40% from three, averaging a steal and a half per game. And the thing with Elijah that I've really enjoyed is just it's been consistency, right? Like he's a bit of an undersized two guard. You understand that. I don't necessarily know if I believe in some like top level playmaking juice for him to get maybe like third string point guard running the NBA. Because somebody asked me about this on Twitter after yesterday's game where Elisha put up 33. Is like, can you see this guy playing in the Raptors rotation potentially? And I think there's a lot of reasons why I'm not 100% sold on it. One, he's undersized. Two, it's a crowded position for the Raptors. And if you're talking about like, yeah, Grady Dick, Ochai Baji, and Jacoby have disappointed, and maybe that's why he usurps them. I understand that, but if you're also looking at potentially trading some of these guys, benching them for a G League player isn't helping their value. You know what I mean? So you kind of do need to keep putting them out there, and hopefully they can turn it around if that's something the Raptors organization is thinking about. And then again, like I just don't see a third string point guard possibility there for Elijah Martin yet. But what I will say is that if you're going to earn minutes in the NBA, he is doing exactly what he needs to be doing, right? He is hitting his threes consistently. This guy is taking just under 6 threes a game. He's hitting it at an over 40% clip. It's catch and shoot stuff. It's not something where he needs to dribble the life out of the basketball. He's doing stuff within that part of the offense really well. This guy can muscle his way to the paint pretty consistently. He's a pretty, like, I want to say, diverse package of finishes around the rim as well. Like you saw it against the Salt Lake City Stars in the final as well. Like he can kind of finish over guys, around guys. He's okay with contact as well. And then obviously defensively, he is a bulldog and he's gonna impose himself physically on the defensive end. So if you're going to earn NBA minutes as a rotation player, it's going to be by playing really good defense and hitting your shots when you're called upon. So AJ Martin has done that, but Cody, like I guess kind of throwing it back to you, I laid out some of the points why I'm not 100% sure he has a role in the NBA for the Raptors just yet. Do you agree or disagree? Where do you fall on that?
I don't know. I think you laid that out really well because I mean, he's just not a point guard, and that's okay. He's just not a point guard. Like you could see, you know, it's. I mean, that was why he went where he did in the draft because at
Mm-hmm.
his size, he measured in at 6'1" and a half. He's just an off-ball player offensively. You know, his handle isn't he doesn't have that dynamic handle, to just really work in the pick and roll, to get those angles to make passes. And when it comes to those passes, he just really isn't an advanced. He just doesn't make those advanced reads. He's not
Yeah,
manipulating the defense, and he hasn't really shown the court vision to play point in college, and he hasn't yet really in the G League. Like he can make simple reads as a playmaker. He can
for sure.
attack off at a tilted defense. And I think that's just his role, right? And he's been great in the role. It's just that's why he went where he did in the draft because he's 6'1" and a half and he's an off ball player offensively. But if the shot is going to continue to fall and he's going to continue to defend, like I'm sure the defense will never go away.
Yeah.
And that's his NBA ready skill. And if
Mhm.
the 3 point shot is going to be like 42% is fantastic. If it's going to keep up like that, then there'll eventually be a role in a time. But it's just you gotta if you're fine with him playing, if you're fine with having a smaller backcourt, then there's a role there. But yeah, that's just where the limitations are with Elijah, and that's okay. Not every player's perfect, right?
Yeah, another player that obviously is not perfect, otherwise he may have been in the Raptors rotation to this point, is Jonathan Mogbo. You said we were going to talk about him, and I'm glad we are. He's been a guy that, again, with the Raptors struggling, especially with some of their big man defense, rebounding, and stuff like that, it's like, hey, do we want to consider giving Jonathan Mogbo a look? Because you look at him in the G League, obviously he didn't have the best performance in the showcase final. I believe it was like 6 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He again stats across the board, but it wasn't really imposing himself. Like in the semifinal, he had 21 points, 11 rebounds. He led the team in both those categories. He had 8 points in the fourth quarter. So not the same performance, unfortunately, but for the most part in the G League, Jonathan Mobo has been very effective since we last spoke about him. And then you look at the Raptors. They, especially with the Jakob back injury, it's like, hey, maybe we could use some depth like Jonathan Mobo. His numbers in the G League, I can put them up here, have been pretty solid. 15 points, just under 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block a game. He's shooting much better from the field as well, 60 over 60%. This is a guy that I feel like he's really taking some of these steps in terms of developing his touch. It was funny last time we talked about him, Cody. I mentioned how he started to use that push shot more. I wasn't a believer at the time. There wasn't much consistency. I'm not sure if I'm completely sold on it, but he did shut me up a little. Jonathan Mobile started hitting that push shot pretty consistently. He had a lot more confidence in it as well when he was taking it, and that's definitely seems to be something in his repertoire. When I
Yeah.
was at their game at Scotiabank Arena, I asked him about it as well. He said that, like, yeah, absolutely, adding something in the in between game is a priority for me, and it's something I have been working on. So it's definitely something to kind of keep an eye on for him. But yeah, like Jonathan Mobo is interesting in the sense that you can see everything he's picking up in the G League. The reps are making a difference for him. He's really starting to build that confidence and whatnot. But it still just doesn't change the fact that he's gonna be an undersized center in the NBA, right? Like you even saw it against Mo Bamba. Like just the physicality was just one sided there. He wasn't able to really impose himself against Mo Bamba. I don't think anyone on the 905 could yesterday in that game, but there's just going to be those physical matchups that are he just I'm not 100% sure he's going to be able to overcome.
Yeah, and then that's why that push shot is so valuable for a guy like him being undersized, because just going to the rim, especially in the NBA when you're just going up against, 6'10" plus guys at the rim night in, night out. Having that counter is really nice. It's funny because we were talking about that aggressiveness at the rim throughout his whole that's basically been the story with him over the last 2 years at the
Mhm.
G level is just use like you have there's not even that big of a size mismatch in the G League to some degree. So you can really just impose your will around the rim more and just just to show that confidence in the paint. And towards I think he started to do that. I don't know
Yeah.
about you. I felt like he has really, sort of the last 2 weeks of the regular or the tip off tournament there. I feel like it was really starting to come around. I mean, 62% from the field during the tip off tournament is that's nothing to slouch at, and that's over double digit attempts per game. Yeah, having that counter is nice. Obviously, we know what he brings defensively outside of necessarily the low post defense when he's going up against a 7 footer, but I think he's really shown. I think he's really improved this year offensively, and that's been where most of the work has needed to come. But yeah, obviously, like you said, there's going to be some limitations. But I think overall, it's been a positive year for Mobo. I don't know about you. I feel like it's been positive. Obviously, the stock numbers are through the roof. He's rebounding the heck of the ball. And that's what he's going to have to do to earn his keep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said it well where that it's been a positive year for him where there's been benchmarks and milestones where you're like, okay, you're seeing the development in what they're trying to do with Jonathan Mobile, like the push shot we talked about, that aggressiveness. I think it really did show in the semifinal against the Grand Rapids Gold, where again, 8 points in the fourth quarter. This is right after Deron Holmes was kind of controlling the game and keeping the Grand Rapids Gold in it with a lot of really timely shot making. Jonathan Bobo kind of took it to him in the fourth quarter. He was bumping him inside. He had two really clutch baskets right after the Grand Rapids Gold had taken the lead back, where he was able to score off good passes from his teammates. He bumped his defender, put a shoulder into it, and finished right at the basket. Those are things that you just want from your starting center, right? Or your big man, whatever you want to call Jonathan Bobo at this point. That's Bobo big playing at the rim. He's gonna need to find ways to finish around bigger, taller defenders. And Deron Holmes is no slouch. He had, I think, 19 points for the Gold. Excuse me, he's a former first round pick of the Denver Nuggets, so he's a very talented player. So for Jonathan Boba to kind of win that matchup, if you want to call it, I think ends up as a benchmark for him.
Yeah, and I think the pace that the 905s play with, I think has helped him. I think
Mhm.
that maybe I don't know if it's helped him like with that aggressive mindset. Now I'm just like theorizing, but
I think to your point, it doesn't give him time to stop and overthink. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, I
yeah,
have to keep going because everyone's going.
yeah. So I wonder if that's maybe been a part of it. Obviously the 3 point shot is uh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
not a thing. It's just not a
yeah,
thing.
I don't know if it's ever gonna come around. I think there's a certain rule where it's like if you shoot, you'll I forget what it is, but if you shoot enough 3 pointers in the league, like eventually, like that's where like you're sort of gonna settle once you hit that certain mark. There's a
Mhm.
I, regardless, he's getting close to that, and yeah, it's not been good. So I just don't think that's gonna happen. And obviously, we all know that's a limitation of his. Maybe it comes around eventually, but I think you're just kind of wishing on that end. But yeah, if he just keeps doing the things that he's doing well and he keeps getting more aggressive around the rim and he adds that in between game, that would be a really good bonus this year.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. Hopefully, we can see more of Jonathan Mobile with the Raptors 905. He's obviously been very, very important for what that team has been able to accomplish to this point. But like we said, there's been a lot of key contributors for this Raptors 905 team. You don't win 16 games in a row without getting people up and down the rosters making a difference. We didn't even mention Tyree Key, who leads this team in scoring off the bench. He's been solid. Olivier Sarr obviously is a player that again Raptors fans are like, hey, maybe he's worth a 10-day because we need some size here. Granted, Olivia Sarr is like 6'10, so he's not really that much bigger than, let's say, Sandro Mamakilashvili, but at this point, the Raptors could use anything. Julian Reese, that's a guy I keep talking about. I say keep an eye on him. He's been very good around the rim and with his touch. They have a lot of guys like that, right? We could keep going on and on and on, but the point is there have been a lot of key contributors, and we anticipate seeing more of them throughout the regular season, which we will coming up soon. But Cody, it's time to transition to talk about those struggling Raptors who, after starting 14-5 and winning 9 straight games while they took the NBA and the Eastern Conference by storm, they have kind of struggled a little bit. They are 17-13 now through 30 games, which means they're 3-8 since that 14-5 start. And a lot of stuff has gone wrong. It's been a combination of things like injuries to RJ Barrett and Jakob Pertl, the offense looking like it's been probably drinking too much eggnog this holiday season, and then just that lack of size you talked about hurting them a little bit. And look, if you guys want a deeper dive on all of this, check out Pull Up Trey and SS Game Day recaps. I'll have a lot more kind of deeper analysis day by day on this kind of stuff. But here's my question to you, Cody, with the trade deadline approaching. And we know people love talking about trade and trade season. If you could pick one deal for this team, would it be focusing on a guard who can touch the paint, kind of like RJ Barrett, and create some of those advantages for you? Or would it be a big backing up Jakob Pertl who can do some of that rebounding, some of that interior defense that we miss right now without Jakob available? What would be your priority number one?
I mean, it's been the priority number one for I don't know how many years are we going now where we need another big. It's I mean, it's as great as Sandro is, another big who can kind of do the things that Sandro isn't necessarily that proficient in. You know what I mean? Basically on the
Mhm.
opposite end of the floor, rebounding and kind of supplementing, like you mentioned, what Jakob Pertl, what Jakob Pertl brings, especially with Pertl's back, man. You know, it's like
It's not good.
once you get a bad back, you know, it's yours to keep, right? So, hopefully that comes around. Even I wonder if they just rest him at a certain point, just because you know, or if it's just always going to be play for a couple games, look all right, and then it just starts acting up, and then bad for a couple games, then you're out. Like we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I think a backup big who can do sort of those things like the guys they've already touched in on. You know, Daniel Gafford is somebody that comes to mind who seems like a realistic target. I'm not sure what it would take. I think what the rumor would be like an Ochai Baji. I mean, I think Ochai is probably going to get traded. That'd be my read. It's
Yeah.
just with pending free agent, they don't
He's
really.
also not been good this year. Like we can say it. I know it's unfortunate, but like I think if you look at the numbers, he's his season last year was great. It was a career year. Don't get me wrong. But the truth is that was kind of the outlier, right? Like he's had 4 seasons in the NBA, one good season, and the rest have been pretty subpar. So at this point, you're looking at a guy who's looking for a second NBA contract and you have an expensive roster as it is, like he's very much the odd man out. And if you can convince a team on his age and upside and get any value for that, I think you absolutely have to look at it.
Yeah, 100%. That's just it is what it is at this point. I mean, yeah, like you said, like last year was the outlier, especially for the 3-point shooting. That was like the biggest outlier, but yeah. I think he's probably the odd man out. I wonder if like Grady Dick is somebody that they would move on from, depending on how, you know, maybe if they could go out and get a bit of a better big. I think maybe Grady Dick would be on the table, but yeah, I would go with the big. How about you?
I'm in agreement. I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but I would go for big as well. And part of it, other than the stuff that you said, is like I have more faith in RJ Barrett returning and helping
Yes.
some of those issues with getting into the paint and being able to drive more creation advantages for this offense than I have faith in Jakob Poeltl's back figuring it out mid-season. I think that's the point you made, Cody. Like, what do they do? Do they just decide to rest him for like a month? That's something the Raptors are honestly actively trying to figure out. They don't have a concrete answer yet. When I was at the game against the Celtics, and obviously that was the question going into it because Jakob Pertl entered the day as I think it was available, then he went to questionable, then it was doubtful, something along those lines, right? Like he just got downgraded as it goes. And Darko Rajakovic said it's unpredictable, it's a day to day thing, and he basically said if this was the off season, yeah, we would just be resting him But in the middle of the season, we kind of have to go with the flow type of approach and see how he's doing because when he's not playing, you miss the guy. You saw it against the Brooklyn Nets. Not that he was great when he was out there, he was limited, but when he wasn't out there, you damn sure saw it and you felt it. When he wasn't out there against the Celtics, you're getting out rebounded by Luka Garza and Nemias Queta. Like these are guys that you, as a top team in the Eastern Conference, the Raptors have been for the most part this season, you just don't want to get beat by, and you have a center who can keep up with them, but he's just not available right now. So you dearly miss him when he's not because I love Sandro Mamukelashvili. He is a power forward who's being asked to play center because the Raptors don't have any other options right now. That's just the truth of the matter, right? So adding a backup big to alleviate some of those pressures, I think will help everybody on this roster. Because we talked about it before when the Raptors were playing well. A big part of it is everything for all the role players was simplified. What your job was, what you had to do. But when guys start leaving the lineup and you have these top contributors who aren't able to do what they're meant to do, you're now asking everybody else to start doing more. You're asking them to start taking care of more of the mistakes, do more than they're used to doing because you need to make up for some of these deficiencies elsewhere. And then it makes everyone's role a lot more complicated and a lot harder. You add a guy whose job is just to set some strong screens and grab a couple rebounds. Well, then now Sandro doesn't have to worry about that. And he can focus on his driving to the rim and his shot making. And there's a cascading effect for everybody, right? So I think that the guys that you mentioned, like, obviously it'd be nice to get a Goga Pataze or Daniel Gafford. Even like I think Musa Diabate's name has been floated around. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if Charlotte even gives him up at this point. I think Musa
Yeah,
Diabate is great. Like I
I
don't know
was
why they would trade him.
I was at the game for the Raptors versus the Hornets, and we were talking to Charles Lee, and the way he spoke about Musa Diabate, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think he's gonna get traded from Charlotte unless it's
yeah,
for legit value. And yeah, I mean, maybe Nick Claxton is somebody who could be floated out there. I don't know if Brooklyn would give him up, but again, it's like yeah, like it's it's been the same story. It just is what it is.
yeah,
This we all know that a big would just help everybody, even like in the
yeah,
vertical spacing like aspect, like a lob threat for some just to help with even with IQ and his playmaking, like a lob threat for him. Like imagine Scotty being able to throw lobs like that. Like I'm sure
yeah.
BI could even do some stuff like that as well. So it's just like it would just help every single aspect of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see if they approach a trade, how they go by. Like you said, Cody, you have an abundance of these like two guards who are underperforming. Can you consolidate some of them into a trade package with one of maybe your other top end players if you need to, depending how big the name is? You are in control of your first round picks for the next foreseeable future, right? I believe you have like 13 picks between the first and second round over the next 7 years. Are you willing to sacrifice some of those to maybe get a impact player? How much like future capital are you willing to give up? Again, I think if you're going after some of these younger guys, whether it's Musa Diabate or Daron Sharp or whoever, you probably have to if you want to bring one of those guys in. I think Essa threw out in his recent piece that Derek Lively maybe take a flyer on him. I'm sure the Mavs would want some kind of compensation of draft capital back for that if you are giving up on a first round pick this early into his career, right? So I think these are all considerations this organization is going to have to make, and I'm sure it's going to be polarizing for how they go about it.
Yeah, I mean they have the assets to do something, and I think that's the way that we all see. Right, what you said. Consolidate all these wings that you have that you've drafted and have acquired. Uh, Pick who you like, and let's balance out the roster a little bit, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's where they're at. I think everybody knows that's where they're at. Other teams probably know that's where they're at. So I wonder how that factors into negotiations. But yeah, it's they need a big,
Yeah.
obviously.
I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Give me a name. If you could like make it all work, whether you can go as big as you want, as low as you want, but if you could make the trade machinations, the financial aspect of it all work, who would you go for?
Oh man. See, my brain has just been so locked into like these lower level for bigs. Honestly, like one of the Brooklyn Nets guys would be pretty cool. I think Claxton or Sharp, they both give you different things. I think both are solid, cheaper guys. I mean, there was that Anthony Davis rumor. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know, I don't know about all that, but that's probably as big as you could go, really. Um, yeah, even Goga, man, like that's
Goga's my number two. He's my number two. I definitely would
Goga's
love him.
right
I've been
there.
high on Goga for a while.
I personally like Daniel Gafford and what he brings. A bit expensive, I think. I don't know how that would. I have to hop on the old trade machine to see how
Yeah.
that one would work out. But I think those are if they could get one of those guys, like the two Brooklyn Nets guys, Goga, Gafford. Those are kind of the guys I'm intrigued by.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm Goga. I'll say Gafford, and then Robert Williams. I think would be a decent because he's a bit
That's
more of a
interesting.
veteran player, good playing a
That's,
role. You're not really worried about like his upside causing issues in the future, usurping anyone. There's a bit of injury issues potentially, and he's a
I think
bit
there's a lot of
pricier.
things to choose, and then
Yeah.
it's like back in the same problem if Pearl
Yeah,
and
yeah. So
Pearl.
like definitely Robert Williams is my number one choice. If I'm going for like a dream Hail Mary scenario that I know is not going to happen, it would be Mitchell Robinson. This guy's a free agent after the season. He's gonna get paid. He makes around $12 million this year. I don't know how the Knicks necessarily keep him, to be quite honest, but I also don't think the Knicks are gonna trade him this year. They're gonna take the last year with him if they can get it. He's so valuable for them. You saw it in the NBA Cup final against the Spurs, what he can do in a pinch. And I think he's going to matter for them a lot come the playoff time. But if you could somehow convince them, if the Raptors organization could find a way to fleece the Knicks once more in a trade, hey, I would get Mitchell Robinson. Maybe find a way to pay him. I don't know if you could even do it, but if there was a way, I would absolutely go for Mitchell Robinson. That's my dream scenario.
Yeah, I know. When he's healthy, he's fantastic. Like the best offensive rebounder in the league, I think. I think just no question.
Yes. Yeah.
And then obviously he's just everything he does is
He's an
you know his
athletic freak, by the way. People don't mention that enough. Athletically, he's a monster of a human being. Obviously, his size and frame, but the way he can move and defend as well, it's crazy.
that's why because he's like his shoulders man or like I
Size of
don't
my
even
head.
and it's just so wide. Yeah, he'd be fantastic. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Why would they really move him? I think
Yeah.
just going for the run this year with him on the roster. Yeah, when he's healthy, that'd be a fantastic ad. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, let us know down in the comments below who would you want the Raptors to add. And again, we didn't really talk about it because Cody and I had agreed. But if you want a paint touching guard of some kind, whether that's I don't know Darius Garland, I know his name has come up a bunch for Raptors fans. If it's him or somebody else, let us know down in the comments below who would you want the Raptors to add in a trade because I think we can all agree they need to make some kind of a move. You said it yourself, Cody. They have the assets. They also have the means because they're struggling right now. Clearly, something needs to change. So I think we all anticipate some kind of move happening. But I think that does it for us here. So let's wrap things up. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to this episode running back, where we shared our insights and thoughts on the Raptors 905 and the Raptors, two teams right now headed in the opposite directions, but hopefully that changes in the future. Don't forget to leave a like on this video, comment down below, and subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. And as always, for analysis, insight, and opinions on the Raptors and Raptors 905, check out raptorsrepublic.com. But that'll do it for us. Have a happy holidays. Stay safe, everyone. For myself, Cody, and Kyle, we'll see you next time when we run it back. Peace.